Welcome to the Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. This podcast is designed to provide momentum in our God-given roles of leadership as we partner together to equip today's Christian leaders for tomorrow's opportunities. Whether you're a pastor, youth leader, ministry volunteer, parent, or student, we want to be your go-to and most trusted resource for equipping and encouragement when it comes to your ministry and leadership influence. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to another Momentum Ministry Partners podcast. I'm trying to get Jeff in the Christmas spirit here.
It's not working, everyone.
Merry Christmas. This is our Christmas episode. We are so excited that you are here and celebrating Christmas with us.
I am so excited you are here
today
to celebrate Christmas.
My name's Eric and I'll be your host, and I have with us the Grinch.
That's true. It is true this morning. Of all the days to record this podcast, I'm so grumpy. It's not even funny.
I love it. Jeff, we'll put some peppermint mocha in your veins and get you, I don't know. Well, our topic today is getting in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
And if we're honest, I love that you're actually grumpy this morning because sometimes in ministry, if we can be honest, which we like to do here on the Momentum podcast, it is hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
It is hard.
Christmas is a lot of work in ministry. Yes. It's not necessarily this. It's fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I am grumpy this morning, but I do love Christmas. But it's a lot of work. Yep. A lot of work on our schedules. A lot of creative work. It's a lift, but it's fun because you get to connect with so many people, and I think God uses it. But
for sure,
yeah.
So what are some things, Jeff, that help get you in the Christmas spirit? I love driving around looking at Christmas lights, which is hilarious because I feel like in the last year or two there are copious amounts of Christmas lights pre-Thanksgiving now. I'm pretty sure my neighbor was like putting them up end of September, and I'm like, bro, you need to just slow down here. Is it Christmas music? Is it like candy canes? Like what does that look like for you?
You know, it's interesting, man. It's all tied to the bandwidth and the space that you have, right? So like my Heidi and I we remodeled an old house, and so this is our first Christmas in it. Yeah. We lived there last year, but it was so destroyed we couldn't have Christmas in it. We went to our son's house.
Having heat probably helps.
Yeah. Like literally, guys, there was no heat in our house. It was December 24th, and our wall was a blue tarp, legit. So it was it wasn't a blast, but like, so this year, like we're like adjusting the Christmas decorations to the new house. Mm-hmm. So it's like a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's fun. Heidi makes things beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, I don't want to do this. I like to lay here and do nothing. Yeah. But it's worth it. So for me, Christmas for me and ministry and as like a person is all about my family and people who I'm with. I look forward to getting together with my family. Mm-hmm. I look forward to, we have a lot of family in our life. And so I look forward to those times with them. And then I look forward to the impact. You know, Christmas is one of those things that still works, at least in Northeast Ohio where I live. It still draws people. Yep. And so the work of big Christmas programs and, more things on the schedule is not easy. Mm-hmm. The harvest is well worth it. So I get to the end of all that, so glad that we did it, so fulfilled, so thrilled, love seeing people, whether it's people who don't come to church a lot or it's like college kids that are home. I love seeing them when they come home, and, because I miss them a little bit. And so I'm always glad that they're here. And then I love the impact that God has through it all. I don't love the hours, and I don't love the how in the world do we tell this story in a creative way again. And I don't love the some of the stress and the pressure that comes with that, but it's worth it all.
Yeah. We'll dive into that here in a second, but did you just make up another new word?
Fremily?
Fremily?
Yeah,
I've not
fremily.
heard-
Friends who are like family. You've never heard that word?
I've heard friends who are like family, but not
Fremily?
Fremily.
Yeah.
That's all right. Welcome to the Momentum
From the guy
Podcast
that
where
just
Jeff
used
makes up.
copious. You said copious. You dropped it in a
I have
sentence.
an extensive
You dr-
vocabulary.
You do. I was impressed. I was like, you went copious on us.
All right, Fremily.
Just
there you
in the
go.
middle of
I love
talking.
it. I love it. Fellowship. That was the one.
Fellowship is a great word.
I've had multiple pastors. I've had copious numbers of pastors even say that they've used that principle in sermons now. So
yeah, it's
you know,
huge. It's
all right.
copyrighted. I own
Fremily,
it.
there
So
you go.
I'll have to sue all these pastors now.
No, I think that's actually a really good concept because sometimes in the Christmas season where you can't be near family, identifying who your community is that are friends who are like family. And so, you know, you have Friendsgiving and all that kind of stuff now. But like being able to like gather together. And Jeff, there's something so significant. One of my favorite phrases, I'm trying to teach my kids this right now. It's like, life is what you make it.
Yeah.
And so when you do the hard work to like decorate for Christmas and you get the tree set up and you have like your space where the lights and the stockings and all of that is, when that's your space, then you can enjoy it. And so
Yeah.
I love getting to sit, both having friends who are like family over to the house, have dinner together, have time together, but even just like after the kids go to bed, I'll sit in the room with the Christmas lights on. I have a book. I'll read my Bible. I'll drink a cup of coffee. Like being in that moment and just allowing myself to rest is such a big deal.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. And I love relationships, and Heidi and I are blessed to have some very deep friendships. Heidi and I have been blessed to be at the same church for 30 years. And so time, produces some wonderful relationships. And so I enjoy and value and enjoy being in those relationships. I enjoy my family immensely. That's if somebody one time asked me, what's my favorite place on earth? I said, wherever my family is, that's
Nice.
where I want to be. So like I went home last night and like my son and his wife were over. My other son was there. Heidi was there. The Christmas lights are on. They're chit-chatting. There's like a Christmas movie on in the background. And I'm like, that's a happy place for me.
Nice.
What's hard for me is I haven't been home before 10 o'clock at night this week because of Christmas.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the conflict with it. But if you're in ministry, it's normal and you just kind of work your way around it because you also, I also find it extremely fulfilling when Jesus makes sense to a lot of people, and I love watching that happen too.
So if you're at the front end, you're kind of on the back end of like being in a place and in a church and in a role for a long time. You probably have a lot of like holiday traditions and routines or things that you would do either as a family or at church, and so like share some of those. But then let's also go the other side and think like if you're new and you're starting out. I was on a Zoom call the other day with a guy. He's a senior pastor, and he goes, I'm like coming up on my first year here.
Yeah.
Like how do you establish routine or Christmas traditions in your services and stuff like that?
So we look for at all times what connects with our community, and so I think that's the first thing you need to do is just like you would exegete the scripture, exegete your community, understand it, understand the history, the context, understand like all the frivolous things that kind of surround it, the unspoken things that surround it. And that's where I would start. And so like if it was my first Christmas, when it was my first Christmas, that's what I was asking. We lived, I think it's changed a lot, but when I first came here, we lived in a very Catholic and very like Greek Orthodox community. So when we started our Christmas programs, there was a lot of candlelight. There was a sobriety to it. I did this thing. It's actually my favorite thing, but I built a nativity set out of candles. Now, I didn't make figures, but like Joseph candle was taller, Mary candle was shorter, Jesus candle was a baby, the shepherds.
Fun.
And then what I would do at Christmas Eve is we'd have a service or two, I forget when we started, probably just one when we started, and I would light each one of those candles, and we'd talk about the character and the story and what God did. I've several times over the years it's really important to me. I always say that you can never separate the manger from the cross. So I like to say the baby in the manger is the man on the cross. And so we're sharing the gospel. So several times I would borrow a baby and a live baby, and I would walk up and down the aisles, and sometimes the baby was sleepy, sometimes they'd be a little fussy, but I literally was like, this is real. Like, this really happened. Like, pull it out of your nativity set or your imagination and think about, so things like that. What has grown over time is, as we've understood our community more, we understand like the power of music. We understand the power of storytelling. We understand kind of a story arc, if you're familiar with that term. So Christmas is the only time at Grace Church that we go big with programs, because it draws people.
Yeah.
It's not because it's Christmas and you're supposed to. In our community, that still works. Now, we don't do the, put the drummer boy on cable and fly him over the auditorium kind of a thing. So we're still feeling that out, but we do more lights, a lot of music. And then I'm going to speak I'm going to be, I would speak like at a Momentum Youth Conference, as opposed to how I might speak week in, week out, as a pastor. So so it's great, and it works, and it draws people. We have lots and lots of people at our church that would trace the beginning of their relationship with Jesus back to Christmas services. But if I was you as a pastor, I would just start to figure that out. Some communities would, if we took what we do here and took it to your community, they may hate it.
Right.
I just always trying to understand, like, well, what works in our, we call it our 5 mile radius. It's our nickname. It's bigger than that, but like, what works right here, and then let's make Jesus make sense to the people right here. Yeah.
So Jeff, as a pastor, where you have a ton of services, Christmas Eve, 8 leading up to it, or however many there are, you're always scaling that. You want the people in your congregation to invite their friends. What are some of the pathways that you have found successful to facilitate those invitations? And then kind of walk us even through, like, being the pastor at the church, like, how do you find your own family traditions and honor that within that mix of time?
Well, our record number of services were 19 in 7 days.
That's a lot.
So we were able to create more building space, and it's going to help a lot with that this year. That was last year, and I was like, guys, I'm really getting old here for this. So, but it was good. So what I would say is this. I would say, here's a few tricks that I've learned. Number one, I just saw a article. This is within the last month. Only 2% of people come to church because of advertising, social media, all the rest. Personal social media, like, I saw this on my friend's page, will push that up.
Yep.
Still, 90% of people come to church because they were invited. Yep. So we're going to try to make an invitation. That's why knowing your community is important. So we will do everything from, like, have a little Christmas village for the family where you can make cookies and you can stand by the fire, and because it feels warm. Believe it or not, years ago, we did a live nativity. That probably would work again. Things go in style and out of style, but we would have real animals. real people out there, and thousands of people would stop because the kids especially want to pet the animals and see them. We'll do a lot of like make the 3x5 card, so to say, and so that you can hand it to a neighbor. And then we just really, really work hard to help our people know to invite. And then here's the big one, everybody. If people are going to take the chance to invite, you have to deliver.
Yep.
So you have to deliver creatively, or maybe it's with warmth. Maybe your church isn't, musically awesome. So you create a village, or my buddy Jason Haymaker's church is doing a thing. I think they call it Bethlehem Village. It's for kids. They're whatever you invite to, you got to deliver for.
Play to your strengths.
And you can do it a 1,000 different ways. So I think that's huge. But the best way to invite people, what we do, instead of blasting our brand and our logo on billboards and blah blah, we try to blast it on our people. So I would rather our people wear a hoodie with a Grace Church logo on it than have a Grace Church logo be on a billboard. So just stuff like that, get that advertising and that invite into the hands of people. As far as services, I tell you one thing that we've learned, I think this may be helpful. We have a Christmas Eve service. The other thing we've learned, Christmas Eve is the 24th. You should have either your main service or a second service on the 23rd. So a lot of people have plans on the 24th. And they will choose their family over your service. Right. And you probably would encourage them to do that. Yes. So having a 23rd service, and then we also do the 24th, that actually drew a lot more people because we're not competing. They haven't left town yet to go to Over the Woods, the grandma's house kind of thing. And we found that to be an important thing. So what we'll do this year is we'll do the 22nd, the 23rd, the 24th. Christmas is on Monday this year. We will take our Sunday services and they will be the Christmas program. So we don't have normal Sunday church and then try to get you to come back when Christmas Eve is on a Sunday. When Christmas Day is on a Sunday, we don't have services because we've had all kinds of services leading up to it. Right. But what we will do is we will record a family devotional that you can show on Christmas Day or have a thing to talk through on Christmas Day. And that probably leads a little bit to my family. So my for all of you who are pastors and directors who are tied up on Christmas, my brother is a pastor, and my brother is 14 years older than I am. So when I was little, we started doing this because my brother would have been an adult. Yeah. My brother was 28 when I was in high school, kind of thing. So he was into his ministry career. So my mother, I'll say 40 years ago, she did a thing where she said, I don't want to put pressure on your brother who has to be at church. And later on, I don't want to put pressure on your in-laws. So what she said was, as a ministry family, because then I went into ministry too. Right. If we could have Thanksgiving, and then we would, the weekend before Christmas, we would have the Bogue family Christmas, and we would 100% fake it. Nice. Santa would come. Nice. We would get up early in the morning. We treated it exactly like Christmas Day. And we've done that for 40 years. So it pulled pressure off of our family, but allowed us to be together, and it just became our rhythm. So that's my extended family. My immediate family, like Heidi and our children, our kids are now, it's a lot of fun. They're always involved in whatever the Christmas program is. So what we do, Heidi's Brazilian, In Brazil, you have a Christmas meal at midnight. So we go home from the last Christmas service. We're all dead. I mean, just dead. Yeah. And we go home. We usually pray over people, and I get emotional right now thinking about it. Like, we always weep and pray because we've worked so hard. You're so spent. Yeah. We love these people. Then we have a feast, and then we get up the next Christmas morning. Our family, my dad instituted this tradition. We were not allowed to open presents until we read the nativity story and we prayed together. Fun. So we read it in English, and then we read it in Portuguese. Okay. Because of Heidi being Brazilian, and then we pray, and then we open our presents. And we are slow openers. We'll spend hours opening our presents and just like enjoying them, saving. And Heidi will make wonderful junk food, cinnamon rolls, you know, that kind of stuff. And those are kind of our traditions. And then we collapse. Yep. And try to recover from what we went through.
I love it because even, you know, for me, when in our church, like when I was pastoring, like the Christmas Eve, and there's so much, there can be so much pressure from family to be together, and so you can, as a ministry family, sometimes you miss out on that. But in your immediate family, with your kids, with your spouse, like finding those moments to have meaningful connection. Bethany and I, we would do the same exact thing. We'd stay up late. We'd wrap all the kids' presents. We would put on a Christmas movie. You know, we'd laugh our heads off to whatever the movie was.
Fred Claus.
Yeah, or like something stupid like
Fred Claus, greatest Christmas movie ever made.
But then we'd make snacks, and we'd stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning wrapping presents, hanging out. We'd make a charcuterie board. We'd enjoy like time together, and it was so much fun. Like, that's become our tradition. Yeah, where you plan it around the ministry and around you alleviate the pressure of all of that. Yeah. So yeah, that's fun. Jeff, even then, okay, so when you're trying to prioritize your staffing, your resources, it's kind of all hands on deck. You're getting volunteers. Christmas is one of those times where it should be or could be an easy ask to play to your strengths. To hey, you're good at photography. Would you help us with the picture booth? To create those moments where it's I love my church. And you're telling other people about it. These are memorable moments to make and let other people share. This is what God did. I just bought our tickets, or didn't buy our tickets. I got our tickets for church. And my son, I was telling him last night, I was like, buddy, we're getting to go to the Christmas Eve service at church. We got our tickets confirmed. And his eyes lit up because for my son, I saw this come across his face. He's like, ooh, I wonder what they're going to do this year. Yeah. And he's 7. He knows the tradition of that. And so when you create those moments, those expectations, but as a pastor, how do you prioritize allotment of resources, your staffing? How do you navigate that and delegate things appropriately so that you're not even burning out your people or exhausting your resources?
For me and for our church, Christmas is all hands on deck, and I'm like, the people in the community are coming. And so you're going to be there. Now, we try to work with our staff on individual levels if a loved one is sick, etc. Mm-hmm. There's certain times when if it's clear it's going to be your grandmother's last Christmas, there's certain times that you have to be flexible, and I want to be flexible. But I'm not apologetic. What I say a lot is there's lots of people who work hard at Christmas. The UPS guy is delivering presents Christmas Eve. Yep. Anybody that you have that works in retail is getting slammed. They're getting home at 10, 11 o'clock at night, etc. So I'm like, let's not think we're ridiculously unique, but let's give an extra day or two off on the other side. Let's let's be flexible leading up and flexible coming out. So we do not shut our offices down for 2 weeks, but we are extremely flexible, because you need to do stuff and there's family, and we don't want to pull you away from all of that. We want you with your family, and we want you with your unbelieving friend. We want you to go to your spouse's Christmas work party, those kind of things.
Yep.
We do a lot of stuff after Christmas. Like we used to have a big Christmas party, and we just changed it up. We have it during a work day, and then we give you the rest of the day off because it pulls that off your schedule.
Yep.
So I'm pretty unapologetic, and I think our staff is pretty eager. Like if you have the right staff, they want to be with people, and they want to take advantage of those things. Volunteers the same way. You're obviously more flexible with them, but a lot of them are on mission, and they're passionate about what we're doing. So like at Grace Church, we don't pay our musicians. And that's a whole conversation we could have another time, but I won't let that happen. Well, so that means that those 19 services, that was volunteers playing those services. Actually, Dell, our producer, sings at almost all of them. She's got a beautiful voice, and so she's one of our, we would feature her in some ways. But we don't pay her to do that.
Right.
She loves Jesus.
Yep.
She loves the ministry of Grace Church. She sees how God uses it. And so it's fun that kind of stuff. We bring in food. We bring in, we try to make it easy for our volunteers and people to be here.
Yeah.
But I'm more. Over the years, we've worked much harder to be excited about the mission than the program.
Yep.
And when people get excited about the mission, they'll sacrifice for that mission. Tons of thank yous, tons of laughter. But when we're on the other end of it and we're like, we're having 1,000, literally like 1,000 conversations about people who are thinking about Jesus, everybody's like, that was time well spent.
Yes.
So
it is fun because I think even within your church community, oftentimes with your staff, when you're bringing in those volunteers, that's part of how you become friends who are like family.
It's exactly
because you're pulling off a huge event together, and you're high-fiving and you're celebrating, and
you've conquered something.
Yeah.
And that camaraderie is not easy to build. It takes time. So our friend that we're talking about, who is his first year, he's not going to have that this year.
Right.
It's going to be him and whoever will help him, kind of a thing. But what I would say is, instead of building to a program or instead of throwing a bunch of money and with Christmas and Easter, what I would say is do the best you can do.
Yeah.
So don't bring in musicians and preachers and stuff and that was incredible, and then the next week they got you.
Yes.
So we have a value here that says we do things with excellence, but our definition of excellence is this: we do the very best with what we have.
Yeah.
So if I can, that's why we don't pay musicians. We're going to have the best music that our volunteer guitar player can provide us.
Yep.
Now what happens, you hold a high standard and work at it, your level of musicians will move up over time. But the reason we go big at Christmas is we're able to go big. I want to be very clear. That wasn't always the case. We didn't start that way.
Sure.
It was Jeff. My first Christmas here was Jeff thought up the candle nativity thing. Tom Gale, who was a colleague and was on staff at the time, led Christmas hymns with a guitar. We baked homemade cookies, and we all were really excited to see people.
And you apparently borrowed somebody's newborn baby.
And I borrowed a baby. Yeah, I think first one might have been one of ours, but
I love it.
We won with was our warmth.
Yes.
We didn't win with our performance or our creativity.
Yeah. You weren't having the snow globe in the auditorium.
No, we couldn't afford it.
Exactly.
We couldn't even. It did snow in the auditorium, but that's just because the roof was no good. And we had the live nativity. We knew how to do that from our Norton church. So
fun.
that was it.
So all right, let's shift as a communicator then. now that you've done, it's challenging even to do it one time. Like,
Yeah.
People mostly know, or they think they know the Christmas story. How do you keep it fresh? How do you be relevant to the culture around you? I like the 5 mile radius, play to your strengths, do your community. How do you filter those decisions as a communicator? And do you like try to market a series off of Christmas, or is it like come back next week and we're starting something new? Like, what does that look like?
So you always need to use Christmas and Easter as a launching pad for a new series. So during the Christmas season, we would be advertising heavily the New Year's series.
Yeah.
That's the one that we would look and say the best discipleship's going to happen there. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Easter. We're going to use Easter weekend to market heavily the post-Easter series and do our best discipleship there. When it comes to the Christmas series, I would say a couple things. I would say beg, borrow, and steal. So your first few Christmas series, you're going to have great ideas and have insights. After probably 3 to 5 years, you're going to be like, man, I got to like do this again.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to be creative. What I do is this. I will be as creative and insightful as, first of all, the passage allows. And then second, that should always be a rule of thumb. And then secondly, where I'm not getting cheesy, like where my need to be creative is so far outside what the passage actually is saying that we're like, and what the donkey was thinking, that kind of like, stay away from that. Those are bad Christmas movies. Those aren't good sermons. So what I would say to pastors is, don't feel like you have to preach the Christmas narrative. I opened up our Christmas series. This year is called Here, Period, with Me. And my first week, I preached on Acts chapter 8, the Ethiopian eunuch. Mm-hmm. And he was reading Isaiah 53. So I actually spoke mostly about Isaiah 53, gave an invitation for the gospel and baptism. Merry Christmas.
There you go.
Now I'll say, like, the way the Ethiopian eunuch responded was how the shepherds responded. Mm-hmm. It was how the wise men responded. This week, I'll do a similar thing, not in the Christmas narrative, but I'm going to talk about Mary and Joseph and Herod. But they're not the whole of my sermon. They're the illustration of it. Mm. And the reason I did that is because I don't have a good, fresh idea. Mm. And you beg, borrow, and steal. Like I looked around and like, oh, that's interesting. Nobody else has a good creative idea.
Yeah.
So, and God's using the series. So I'm like, that's fine. The Christmas program is the narrative, right? It'll be different.
Yep.
So I don't think, I would say, like, release yourself from that pressure a little bit. You can sing Christmas songs and use the Christmas story as an illustration, but I'm just presenting the gospel, and the gospel starts, so to say, in the manger and is fulfilled on the cross. And so I'm like, it all ties together pretty easily. I would also say this: don't be afraid to use Christmas sermons again. Like if you're 7, 8, 10 years in, get an old one out. Nobody remembers it. You don't remember it, So like, get an old one out, freshen it up, get some more insight, and go from there. And just don't guilt trip yourself, and don't feel like if I don't preach on Luke 2 that I'm not celebrating Christmas. That's not true.
Yep. Nice. Very good. Well, thank you, Jeff. This is helpful. Are you feeling better about Christmas?
I'm feeling better about being here with you. You always put me in a better mood, Eric.
I love it.
It's part of your superpower. I've never left time with you more grumpy than I came into time with you.
Well, that's good. That's good. There is something magical. I mean, honestly, like even if this Christmas season is like the first one without mom, or you've lost a loved one or a family member, I think that give yourself permission to like honestly like remember the good times, to mourn and grieve, but to know and sense the nearness of Jesus. That is the purpose of this time frame.
I think it's remarkable as a culture. We still stop and pay attention to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I know things aren't awesome right now. I'm not naive about that, but we still do. And there's not a downside to it. There's when you're busy because people want to be around the celebration of Jesus Christ, that's time well spent.
Yep. Yeah, get around the body of Christ, being around other people, and it's
the
a big deal.
and the loss. How many times and in how many cultures is somebody walking through the mall singing about joy to the world, the Lord has come.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
all of that is important, and that's where I'm like, it's different places, but I'm like, use it.
Yep.
It's a real advantage that we get to be a part of.
Absolutely. Well, we do wish you a Merry Christmas from Jeff and I and the whole crew here at Momentum Ministry Partners. We are praying for you. We are for you. We want to continue to be a trusted resource. So thank you for tuning into this episode. We hope that you and your family and your ministry are seeing the fruit of all of the hard work that you've been putting in, and enjoy your Christmas season.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope you found it to be valuable. And if you did, would you share it with someone else in your network who might enjoy it? Also, would you please go on and subscribe, rate, and review it? That way you don't miss any more, and somebody else will be able to find it too. Also, because we want to be your trusted resource, if you have a question or topic that you would like us to discuss on an upcoming episode, send that to us via email to info@buildmomentum.org, or you can send us a DM on any of our social media platforms. You can find us there at Momentum Ministry Partners. Also, if you need more information on our ministry, be sure to check out our website at buildmomentum.org. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you next time.